Good morning, students, and here we have our math assignment for Thursday, and we are continuing learning about fractions. And today we're going to start by adding fractions. Now, some of you may have a little bit of experience with this, but because our book gets more and more challenging, we have to focus on the small steps before the big steps. So yesterday we practiced how to change an improper fraction into a mixed number by dividing. If you're having trouble with that still, don't go on to this page yet. Let me know so that I can help you get really good at changing improper fractions into mixed numbers. And once you're comfortable with that, then we can start on this page, which is a tad more challenging, as today we are adding our simple fractions. So for the top, you're going to do your review exercises as usual. Notice that most of your review exercises are to change the number into a mixed numeral. So after you're done with that, we're going to start our brand new exercises, which are adding fractions with like denominators. So what that means is we are going to add fractions where both numbers, both fractions here, have the same denominator, which makes it easier, and you'll see why. Later on, we will learn how to add and subtract and multiply and divide fractions without the same denominator. So we're going to start with these steps today and probably continue working on this next week and not bring anything brand new. So I want you to feel very comfortable and just focus on this exercise with my help as needed. So let's read the directions first. It says to add fractions with like denominators, first add the numerators, then ask the following questions about your answer. Is the answer an improper fraction? If it is, convert it to a mixed numeral or whole number. 2. Can the fraction be reduced? If it can be, reduce it to its simplest form. So we're going to be using the same practices that we used Tuesday and yesterday as we add these fractions. So the adding is the easy part. Implementing what we learned can be a little bit of a challenge, so I want you to take your time on each one. So for the first sample, and I'm going to do maybe 4 with you, so I want you to pay close attention. If you are having trouble understanding or you feel overwhelmed, let's just take it one by one. So here for our first sample, we have 4 over 5 plus 3 over 5. And our first rule is just to add the numerators. And the numerators are the top numbers. So we're just going to add the top numbers together. 4 plus 3 in this case is 7. That's easy. The denominator, however, stays the same. We do not add these denominators together. So we leave it at 5. See how easy that is? Now notice, we have an improper fraction here. So what do? Well, we do what we did yesterday, which is change that improper fraction into a mixed number or a mixed numeral, as we call it. So we learned that we divide. Let's divide 5 into 7. How many times can 5 fit into 7? Once. 5 times 1 is 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. And how do we change this into a fraction? Remember, we do the 1, 2, 3 rule. So we put the 1 as the whole number and then 2 over 5. Now, our last check, and sometimes it can be easy to forget, is to decide whether or not the answer can be reduced, just like we did on Tuesday. In this case, 2 over 5 cannot be reduced, so this answer is complete. Let's go on to the second sample. So for our second sample, we have 5 over 6 plus 3 over 6. we're going to add our numerators, our top numbers. So 5 plus 3. 5 plus 3 is 8. And remember that when the denominators are the same, we don't add them, we leave it exactly the same. So we will have 8 over 6. And as we can see again, we have an improper fraction. The top number should not be larger than the bottom number. So we have to do our same process again. We have to divide. So 6 into 8. And how many times does 6 fit into 8? Once. 6 times 1 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. And we're going to do our process of the 1, 2, 3, our whole number, 2 over 6. And we have our mixed number. But in this case, this can be reduced, just like on Tuesday. So we can see that 2 actually fits evenly into 6. So this number can be reduced by how many times does 2 fit into 2? Once. How many times does 2 fit into 6? 3. And then we move the whole number. So actually 1 and 2 over 6 can be reduced to 1 and 1/3. And this would be ultimately the correct answer. Now this answer is acceptable too, but you should be going the step further and reducing just by figuring out if there is a number that fits evenly into both the top number and the bottom number. Let's do number 1. For number 1, we have 2 over 7 plus 3 over 7. And again, let's add our numerators. We have 2 plus 3, and 2 plus 3 is 5. Our denominator stays the same as we've learned. Now in this case, we do not have an improper fraction because the numerator is smaller than the denominator, so we do not need to change this into a mixed number. However, can we reduce this fraction? Can we reduce 5 over 7? Is there a number that fits evenly into 5 and into 7? If you were to count up from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, neither of those fit evenly into 7. So we do not need to reduce this. This answer is done. And sometimes you'll get easy ones like this, but most of the time they'll need a little bit more work. So we're going to do number 2 just to make sure that we have a lot of examples ready, and I encourage you to go back behind in this video and re-watch if you need some reinforcement. But let's do one more. So for number 2 on your page, you have 4 over 7 plus 5 over 7. Again, adding our numerators, we have 4 plus 5 is 9. Our denominator stays the same. And we have an improper fraction. We go ahead and divide that. 7 into 9. Once. 7. 9 minus 7 is 2. Big down to the left. 1, 2 over 7. We have our mixed number. Can we reduce 2 over 7? There are no numbers that fit perfectly even into 2 and into 7. So this answer is correct. There's no reductions necessary. So you just have these 8 questions to work on. So I want you to work really hard on these. Write them out. Show me your work, because we are going to be needing these techniques a lot as we move on. So just do step by step, follow these rules and the rules that I've shown you with our examples, and of course, I will be available to answer your questions over Zoom. And here for our language arts assignment for Thursday, we are going back and reviewing verbs. So we have been working really hard on nouns and different kinds of nouns and plural nouns. But this page, we're just going to go back, do a quick review on verbs, which are our action words, our helping verbs, our state of being verbs. So you guys are going to do just fine because we have been studying verbs for so long. So for Think A, you're going to underline the correct verb form in parentheses. So this one's going to be easy because you have the possible answers in parentheses within each sentence. So what you're going to do is read the sentence, read it out loud, and choose which of the words in the parentheses makes sense. So, for example, number 1 says, the burglar sneaked or snuck. Remember that funnily enough, we learned that snuck is not actually a word, even though we use it often. The past is actually sneaked. So you would underline sneaked. Into the house, stole some money or stole some money. Stole is not a word, so we would underline stole. And clumb over the fence or climbed over the fence. Clumb is not a word, so we would underline climbed. So doing the best you can, read through these sentences slowly out loud and underline the correct verb form for these sentences. Sometimes both words are spelled right, so definitely read it out loud so that you can better identify which words are wrong. For Think B, you're going to draw 2 lines under the verb or verb phrase in the sentence, circle helping verbs, identify the principal part of the verb by writing the appropriate abbreviation in the blank, PR, PR, P, P, double P. And all that means is the present, present participle, past, past participle. So all you have to do is draw 2 lines under the verbs first. So take it step by step. After you underline the verb or verb phrases, you'll circle your helping verbs. Remember that helping verbs usually go before the action word, and it helps the verb. Examples are is, are, was, am, were. Those words, ones that help the action word. Then you will decide whether those verbs that you underlined are in the present, which is now, or in the past, which is before, or it's the present participle, which ends in ing, or the past participle, which oftentimes is the same as past, but what you would do is say I have before it and then identify it. But mainly what I want you to do is to underline those verbs, circle those helping verbs, and then later, if you have trouble, we can discuss the principal part. But focus on these 2 rules. And then for Think C, write the state of being verbs from memory. So if you were listening closely to this video, you would have caught some of those state of being verbs that I just mentioned. So the point is just an exercise to remember. So try not to go to the previous pages. Just write as many as you can. You will not get it wrong if you don't have them all. And then also some clues that I've said in this video. Which principal part always ends in ing and needs a helping verb? So we talked about this about 2 times, yesterday and today. So if you were paying attention, you would know without looking which of the principal parts always ends in ing. So here we have our last page of spelling for Thursday. Keep in mind that tomorrow is a teacher work day, and so you have tomorrow and the weekend to turn all of these in. So that means that we're completing our list 7 today for spelling. So What we're doing is we're going to organize these paragraphs, and let's read the directions on top. It says, Andrew grew bean seeds for a science fair project, but the notes on his procedures are in the wrong order. Number his note cards in the correct order by placing a number on the short line at the top of each card. So you have these little lines on the top right of the cards. And what you're going to do is you're going to read these procedures or the steps that he used to do his science project. And after, you're going to write down which came first, second, third, and fourth. Now, if you need to read them together, we can do that over Zoom, but I encourage you to read these on your own because you'll be better to read them on your own and organize them on your own. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit too easy. But of course, if you need help reading, then I am here for you. On the bottom, it has the items used in this experiment above, and you're going to write the list words found on these note cards. So these are just a few clues, but you're going to go up to these note cards. You're going to find any of the list words here on the right. I encourage you to read them in cursive, but of course you can flip to script if you really need to. And just write down the words. There are 9 words in these note cards that are from our list. So just reading and listing. You do not have to edit these or write anything else other than the steps in order. That we do not have any more chapters this week as we have finished our chapters 8 through 10. So what you're going to do is just complete your worksheets and your creative exercises for our chapters for this week, and make sure that they're organized and that you send them over the weekend.